What is this verse? 20? Ah, yeah, there it is. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Asinaha Samvishrams Tishtan Bhunjanaha Payatan Mahim Sintayano Rishikesham Apasyan Tanmayam Jagat Asina Samvisam Tistan Bhunjana Payatan Mahim Chintayanu Rishikesham Apasya Tanmayam Jagat Asina Samvisam Stintan Bhunjanam Payatan Mahim Chintayanu Rishikesham Apasya Tanmayam Jagat. Somebody. Asina Samvitam Stintan Bhunjana Payatan Mahim While sitting on a throne, or in his sitting room, while lying on his bed, or indeed while situated anywhere, and while eating, sleeping or walking, Kamsa saw only his enemies, the Supreme Lord, Rishikesh. In other words, by thinking of his all-pervading enemy, Kamsa became unfavorably Krishna conscious. Purport Srila Rupa Goswami has described the finest pattern of devotional service an Anukulena Krishnanu or cultivating Krishna consciousness favorably. Kamsa, of course, was also Krishna conscious, but because he regarded Krishna as his enemy, even though he was fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, his Krishna consciousness was not favorable for his existence. Krishna consciousness favorably cultivated makes one completely happy, so much so that a Krishna conscious person does not consider Kaivalyam Sukham, or merging into the existence of Krishna, to be a great gain. Kaivalyam Narakayati, for a Krishna conscious person, even merging into the existence of Krishna or Brahman, as impersonalists aspire to do so, is uncomfortable. Kaivalyam Narakayati Tridasha Pura Akapushpavayati. Karmis hanker to be promoted to the heavenly planets. But a Krishna conscious person considers such promotion a will of the wisp, good for nothing. Nudan tendriya kala sarpa patali Bhaktata damstra yati. Yogis try to control their senses and just to become happy, but the Krishna conscious person neglects the method of yoga. He is unconcerned with the greatest enemy, the senses, which are compared to snakes. For a Krishna conscious person who is cultivating Krishna consciousness favorably, the happiness conceived by the karmis, jnanis and yogis is treated as less as a fig. Comes, however, because of cultivating Krishna consciousness in different ways, that is, inimically, was uncomfortable in all the affairs of life, whether sitting, sleeping, walking or eating, he was always in danger. And this is a difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. A non-devotee or atheist also cultivates consciousness, Krishna, God consciousness, but trying to avoid God in everything. For example, so-called scientists who want to create life by a combination of chemicals regard the external material enemy as supreme. Such scientists do not like the idea that life is part and parcel of Supreme Lord. As clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivam Shodhiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, living beings do not arise from a combination of material elements such as earth, water, air, fire, but separate portions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one can understand the position of the living entities as separate portion of the Supreme Lord, by studying the nature of a living entity, one can understand the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, since the living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Lord. But because atheists are not interested in God consciousness, they try to be happy by cultivating Krishna consciousness in various unfavorable ways. Although Kamsa was always absorbed in thought of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was not happy. A devotee, however, whether sitting on a throne or beneath a tree, is always happy. Srila Rupa Goswami resigned from office as a government minister to sit beneath a tree, and he was happy. Tyaktva turnam ashesha mandala pati shrenim sada tutravat. It says in Sat Goswami Astaka, number 4. He did not care for his comfortable position as minister. He was happy even beneath a tree in Vrindavan, favorably serving the Supreme Lord. That is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. For a non-devotee, the world is full of problems, whereas for a devotee, the entire world is full of happiness. Vishram purna sukhayate vidi mahendriyas dis cha kitayate. Yat karuna kataksha vaibhava tam gaudam eva stumaha. It says in Chaitanya Chatamrika, Sadram Rita 95. This comfortable position of a devotee can be established by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Yasmin stito na dukena garuna pi vichalyate. Even when a devotee is superficially put into great difficulty, he is never disturbed. Omagyantimidandasya gananjana shalakayat shakshurumanitam yena tasmai si guravenma. Sri Chaitanya manobhistam savitamina bhutale svayam rupa karamayam darati svaparantikam. Vandeham siguru siyuta patakamalam sigurun vaishnavam sa. Sirupam sagajatan sagana ragunatan vitam tam sadivam. Sadvaitam savaduta paijana saitam Krishna Chaitana Devam Siddhartha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Vishikhamsa. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kantona Mustati Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Pati Panchakalpatrubhyasya Kripa Sindhuvaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavi Vinamam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivadriko Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama. So, when I was young, there was a famous song, and it was in English in America, and it said, "What is the ugliest part of the body?" That was the song. And then he says, some think it is your nose, some think it is your toes, but actually it's your mind. And that's very true. Because for us in the material world, there are 6 thieves. Who knows the 6 thieves? The 5 senses, the ears, the eyes, the nose, the tongue, and the ears, and the feeling. These are the 5 enemies that take your time away. And so the mind. Even when we chant Hare Krishna, we start to think Hare Krishna, and we think of Krishna, it's over here, and hello. And our mind is going everywhere, because the mind is stealing our time away. He's a thief, most dangerous. One who has controlled his mind, the mind is the greatest friend. One who has failed to do so, the mind is the greatest enemy. So this is our predicament in the material world. And Kamsa was just like that. His mind was actually controlled. He was thinking of Krishna as an enemy. It is a perverted way of Krishna consciousness. If you take this verse, while sitting on a throne, while lying in his bed, or indeed while situated everywhere and while eating, sleeping and walking, Kamsa saw only his enemy, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishikesh. In other words, by thinking of his all-pervading enemy, Kamsa became unfavorably Krishna conscious. Now we can invert this verse. Listen to this one. While sitting on a throne or sitting in a room, while lying on the bed, or indeed while situated everywhere, and while eating, sleeping, or walking, my devotee sees things always of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishikesh. In other words, by thinking of the all-pervading Lord Sri Krishna, the devotee becomes favorable Krishna conscious. And that is the highest, to think always like Prabhupada or Krishna. Actually, Krishna speaks this verse, engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee. Offer obeisance to me and worship me, being completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me. Manmana bhava bhakto, madhyajimam namaskuru, mam ivasyasi yuktvaivam, atmanam matparayana. That is the highest. And it is not easy. It is something we have to learn. And it is actually possible only by the mercy of Krishna in the ultimate. We have to do our endeavor. It's not that we depend on Krishna's mercy. Prabhupada said that one time when in the 1968, I think, or 9, we had a temple in Boston, and Satsaru Maharaj was a temple president, and they didn't have money. So they didn't know what to do. So the decision was, let us take all our money, whatever we have left, and we offer it to Krishna. So we bought flowers. The whole temple altar was beautifully decorated. And they sent a picture to Srila Prabhupada, and he wrote back, how did you afford this, to have so many flowers? He said, Srila Prabhupada, we took every bit of our money and we gave it to Krishna. Now he has to maintain us. And Prabhupada said, well, Krishna is not your servant. You should do your work, and then Krishna will help you. This is a very important principle. And we have to do our part. Then Krishna will help us. Like there's one Satchidananda Swami, he always used to say that we have to do our best and then Krishna will do the rest. Like when we leave the material world, as far as our doing is concerned, we leave our senses behind. 5 elements, our Stula Sarira. Then we leave even the Mana Sarira, Buddhi Sarira, Ahankara, the subtle body behind. And then the rest goes towards Krishna. Due to our sadhana, due to pious activity, Krishna conscious activity, that gives us a fuel. It's like a rocket. You leave the first stage behind, the second stage behind, the subtle body. What is it called, subtle body? Sarira, what? Huh? Lakshman? You have to come here. Okay, Sukshma Sarira. You have to leave this behind, and then due to our devotional service, we can approach Krishna, and then Krishna, he takes us. I give you an example of that. Like we are chanting Hare Krishna, and our chanting may not be very good at times. So there is one statement of Srila Haridas Thakur, and that statement is, simply by one's own endeavor, no one in this world can overcome distractiveness. We can't, because our mind is under the control of material nature. So by our own endeavor alone, as he says, one cannot overcome distractiveness, being unattentive in chanting. Not possible. Such victory can only come about by your merciful blessing, by the mercy of the holy name, by the mercy of Krishna. We can concentrate. Therefore, it is absolutely necessary to beg for your grace. This is what Haridas Thakur spoke in Harinam Chintamani, in the 12th chapter. So it's very important that we have to do our thing, and then Krishna will help us. As he surrenders unto me, accordingly, I reward him. It's just, and Krishna is not partial. We should not think he is merciful to others, not to myself. He is completely impartial. Now, how come Krishna sometimes gives something to another one nothing? Because it depends on what we give. Say you go to a wala, food wala, and you give him 10 rupees, and you said, give me rice for 10 rupees. He will give you. Another one comes, he has 100 rupees, give me rice. You give him 100 rupees. Somebody says, here is a lakh. All right, I give you a lakh. So he's impartial. He gives everybody according to what he gives. It's very simple. It's very precise. So in the same way, Krishna, he gives to the degree we give. We get as much as we give. There's a law. No more, no less. Actually more. Krishna gives even more. Prabhupada said if there's 1% of Krishna consciousness, Krishna turns it into 2%. So the whole world is working like this, that it is a matter of giving so that they will be getting. And Kamsa, he was thinking of Krishna always in anger, in envy. He was like Bhaktisiddhanta called it, averse to Krishna. That's our mentality, averse. You know, he was not into Krishna, he was averse of Krishna. And this is what most scientists, or most people even in the material world are, they're averse of Krishna. They want to enjoy. That's the main thing. They want to be happy, they want to have pleasure. And they're happy with people who give them pleasure. And one who doesn't give him pleasure, he will reject. So it is the ideal way to relate to Krishna is really to give Krishna pleasure. Samsiddhya Haritoshanam is the verse. Ata Pumbiya Dvija Shrestha Varnashrama Bhagasa Svanushitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhya Haritoshanam. To give Krishna pleasure. To make Krishna doesn't need. He is self-sufficient, he's Swarat, independent. He has everything, he's Purnam. He doesn't need our chanting, actually. Yet Krishna is happy when we chant because he knows that he is a soul that is coming back, a soul that is turning to me. In fact, there is one statement that I want to read to you. Let me just think. Where would that be? Here it is. Where would that be? a second. When you're looking for it, you can't find it. That's the problem. Shradaya Hilaya Nama, Shradaya Hilanam Nama, Ratani Mama Jantuva, Tesham Nama Sada Partha Vatate Ridaye Mama. And Krishna says to Arjuna, this is taken from Adi Purana, 105 to 108. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, listen Arjuna, attentively. When a living entity chants my name, whether out of devotion or indifference that his mind is elsewhere, or he's thinking of something else, of his wife or whatever, even then, indifference, I can never forget this act. It remains always close to my heart. So we cannot imagine how close we come in Krishna's heart when we chant Hare Krishna, in quality particularly, not in difference. Although Lord says here, it's a concession in indifference, but actually we should come to Shuddhanam. We should come to Shuddhanam. We should leave the platform of apparat behind. We should leave even the next stage behind and come ultimately to the point of Shuddhanam, that our interest is directed towards Krishna alone when we are chanting Hare Krishna. It's very important to understand this, that the verse is a complete antidote to what Kamsa was saying, is engage your mind in always thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisance to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. And then Krishna will protect us under all circumstances. He will be with us if we start thinking of Krishna. Like one time, our devotee, his servant, I don't remember his name right now, he flew with Prabhupada early in the morning into Brazil. And he asked Prabhupada, did you bring some prasadam? The stewardess was distributing prasadam. And Prabhupada said, the devotee said, yes, Srila Prabhupada, I brought some puffed rice and I brought some fried peanuts or something. So he fed Prabhupada and Prabhupada was happy. And the stewardess came by and she said, oh, that smells so good. May I? She took from Prabhupada's plate and put it into her mouth. And Hari, the devotee, he was so angry he almost hit her. You know, that she would take off Prabhupada's plate. Prabhupada was in the middle of eating, it was not even finished. And Prabhupada smiled, he said, that's all right. I personally have this experience that sometimes we may do something which is highly offensive to Prabhupada, but Prabhupada doesn't take that. You know, like for example, one time we were walking in Vrindavan, and I was walking directly behind Prabhupada and I stepped on his heel. I stepped on his heel. Terrible. So Prabhupada turned around and took his stick and he pushed me. He said, are you now satisfied? And that's the last thing. I was so embarrassed. I was so shy. I started to cry. I said to Srila Prabhupada, far from being satisfied, Srila Prabhupada, I'm so sorry. I paid my obeisance. And he said, that's all right. That's all right. He said, when you go into Germany, I said, tomorrow. He said, no, you can't do that. You have to stay at least 3 weeks. Change your ticket, stay 3 weeks, enjoy the spiritual atmosphere. That was his instruction, and I was so happy to get this instruction to stay with Srila Prabhupada, and every day I would be able to sit there under the tree Prabhupada was sitting and giving lecture. So now coming back to the story, when Suttakirti, now this is a name, his servant, when he spoke this in Brazil, that the stewardess, he took from Prabhupada's plate and Prabhupada said, it's fine, don't worry. So Prabhupada said to her at that time, can you get me some milk? She said, can I do something for you? He said, yes, can you get me some hot milk? And she went into first class, and there they had the facility. So Prabhupada was very happy. Now, when Shutakirti reported this story in Brazil, somebody lifted his hand and said, Maharaj, this is only half the story. There's another part to it, the second part. I said, what is that? He said, I'm a book distributor, and I distributed books in the Amazon. Amazon is a huge, biggest jungle in the world. And I came to one small village, and I went to every door knocking and sold Bhagavad Gita. And then one girl came out with a tilak in a sari. He said, Mataji, how is that possible? You're in the middle of the jungle. He said, I was a stewardess 30 years ago. And I took the prasadam of your guru. So you see just this little thing, just a moment association with Srila Prabhupada, how much value that is. And we cannot even imagine, we have so much association with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is always there. I know of 2 devotees in ISKCON who are great readers of Srila Prabhupada's books. One of them is Keshava Bharati. The other one is a devotee from San Diego. This devotee from San Diego also, he reads every day 3 hours, 4 hours. And he said one time he was reading, and all of a sudden Prabhupada started reading for him. He read in a loud voice what he was reading. It went on for 10 minutes. It's amazing. So when I told this to Keshav Bharati, he said, to me it happens the same. It happens exactly the same, that Prabhupada actually came. And as far as myself is concerned, I happened to be in Prabhupada's room the last 3 weeks of his life. And there are so many things to say about that association. But one thing that sticks out, that when Prabhupada was put into Samadhi, marble plate on the ground of the pit, salt around his body all the way to his top, that no vermin can enter, there's no insect can enter. And then they put a stick on Prabhupada's head, a bamboo rod, and it was very tall, and it sticked out of the pit. And then they made sand, and I had to keep the people back. That was my seva, to make sure nobody would storm the grave. And then in the end, there was the stick was sticking out. They pulled the stick out, made a little mound around it, and then the carpenter came and made a little hut, a little altar that could be locked. And that was actually the original Samadhi. And we started doing puja there. So when he pulled the stick out, there was one moment that there was a hole. And then the hole fell in because of sand. So I had a dream at night, a very vivid dream, that I looked down this hole, and actually it was not anymore a hole, it was like a chimney. And so I leaned on the chimney and looked down. And all of a sudden Prabhupada came in a very, very wonderful form, translucent, it was just wonderful, the appearance of Srila Prabhupada. And he leaned on the other side and he said, they think that I'm dead. And then he disappeared. It was very short. And I thought about it a lot. We do so many things, and so many things are done because people think Prabhupada is dead. He's not dead. He reasons they will think that Vaishnava dies whilst he's living still in sound. Like the example of Keshav Bharati and this other devotee. Prabhupada said, I'm in my books. I will never die. I'm in my books. And so all of a sudden Prabhupada, think about it, incredible. This is 20 years, 30 years after Prabhupada departed. All of a sudden Prabhupada starts speaking. How incredible that is. This is not normal. Normally, people bring a body to grave. At least in Western civilization, and they come even years after that. I know my brother died with 7 years of cancer. I remember my mother put a blanket around his feet after he was dead, and he was in the coffin. I said, Mama, why are you doing this? He said, I don't want him that he freezes. It's cold down there. So he took the best blanket. And then even for years he used to go to the grave and put flowers there. He is elsewhere. He's running around by that time as a toddler. You know, he's somewhere, he may be on this planet, maybe on another planet. But he's well and alive, but people go to the grave and worship the dead body. Basically speaking, because of lack of understanding of Aham Brahmasmi, that I'm Brahman, that I can never die. Najayati mriyati vakadachana yam budva bhavita vanabhuya. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, never was a time, for the soul there's never birth or death. Never was a time that I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor will there be a time that we will cease to be. That's knowledge. That's knowledge. But people don't have this knowledge. This verse is some look at the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, and others cannot understand. And far as the West is concerned, from my upbringing, there is no defined understanding of soul. They don't know that we are not the soul, that we are not the body, that we are a soul. They don't know. And consequently, if I don't know that I'm actually a soul that suffers the reaction of a previous life, I cannot understand why in the presence of a good, benign God, there's so much suffering and so much evil. You cannot. If you understand only one life, you cannot understand this. And so people build philosophical or theological constructs to make it understandable. So the construct is that Adam and Eve sinned, and we suffer the sins of our great, so many things back. Of course, Adam and Eve never lived. We know this is you and me that fell from the spiritual world. It's an allegorical story. It describes our fall into the material world very nicely. If you take this fruit, you become like God, the snake was saying. So that's precisely the situation, that we compete with Krishna. As soon as we compete, we have to get out. So the idea is that we have to suffer because we suffer the reactions of Adam and Eve's sin. This is just, how do you call it? Mental concoction. This is mental concoction. And so in the world of religion, you have so much mental concoction. And people start interpreting Krishna. So many people in India, interpreting Bhagavad Gita according to their whims. Yashastram vidim utsijava satri kama karata. One who acts according to his whim. Nasasidim avapnoti, can never achieve perfection, na sukam, no happiness, na paramgatim, no can he achieve this supreme destination. So speculation is a number one activity, sense gratification, and particularly on the subtle form, speculation. And we speculate. I remember one time we went on a morning walk, and there was a sign. It was in Watford, England. And Srila Prabhupada pointed to this sign. We were all looking. And Prabhupada said, what does that mean? And then Rohini Nandan, my godbrother, said, Srila Prabhupada, I think it means, Prabhupada said, don't tell me what you think. He said, tell me what you know. If you don't know, don't tell me. What's the point? He said, if you want to think in the closet. You can go into your hole and think, but don't bother me. And I remember, this is one of my favorites, that one time one devotee was telling Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes I'm thinking, and Prabhupada said, don't do that. Don't do that. Because he knew it was mental speculation. You know, people are like that. Like when Prabhupada was in Germany, there was this interesting situation. There was one priest, who was very nice, a monk, and he was chanting on his beads. So Prabhupada, what are you chanting, Father such and such? He said, I'm chanting the name of Jesus. And Prabhupada said, that's very nice. And Christos and Krishna, there's a closeness there. And he encouraged him. Then he turned to some theologian, Christian theologian, who was covering with his explanations of Jesus. Like even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Lord Chaitanya listened to him for so many days. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked him, did you understand what I'm saying? He said, well, I understand very well Vedanta Sutra, but you're covering with your interpretation the Vedanta Sutra. That's the idea. The idea to cover the truth by one's own idea. That's the disease, and that's why you don't have pure religion very easily manifest, because people invent. So this professor, he spoke classical, speculative, religious or theological construct, like we suffer the sins of Adam and Eve. And Prabhupada said to him, 2,000 years have passed, to the theologian, professor. 2,000 years have passed and still you don't understand Jesus. And the professor said, why? He said, because if you understand Jesus, you can understand Krishna. If you can understand Krishna, you can understand Jesus. We should not misunderstand that Prabhupada had great respect, because Jesus was a pure devotee. And only a pure devotee can understand a pure devotee. Vaishnavya Kriya Mudra. So Prabhupada said, and if you love Jesus, you must love Krishna. If you love Krishna, you love Jesus automatically. So the truth is that love is that which connects us with Krishna. Samside Hare Krishna. And so this professor couldn't understand that. So he was trapped in his philosophy, in his idea. And therefore even scholars nowadays, and we have this in our movement as well. I remember one time Prabhupada, he came from London, and, he came from America, from New York, and arrived in Paris early in the morning. By 8 o'clock he was down and giving lecture. And he was extremely tired. He was extremely tired. And so the Vyasa-san was big like an aircraft carrier, was very big. And Prabhupada sat in one corner. It's a huge Vyasa-san, up to here. And Prabhupada sits in one corner. It was and leaning on this pillow. And after some time, Prabhupada leaned more, and then after some time, he pulled up his legs and kept talking. Then he put his head on the pillow and kept talking. And then he fell asleep. We were all, be quiet, Prabhupada is sleeping on the Vyasa-san. It was quite amazing. It was very charming. How Prabhupada was like a child, you know. He just slept 4-5 minutes, and he said, and therefore Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he got up and he kept talking. The philosophy, very nice. So I'm telling this story because right after that, Prabhupada asked for questions. And one devotee said, well, Srila Prabhupada, one time you said in Los Angeles, this and that. Prabhupada said, really? I never heard about that. Did I say that? He said, yes. Prabhupada said, who said so? Such and such. And then Prabhupada said, and it was very funny to hear this out of his own mouth, that many Srila Prabhupada said that, and Srila Prabhupada said this, but Srila Prabhupada didn't say that. You see, because the tendency of human beings is to interpret. You know, in this way, in the Western world, everybody has his own Jesus, practically speaking. His own idea about his concept. But these are just concepts, human concepts. And the world is full of concepts on the subject of religion. There's actually a verse that I must read to you. It is so good. It is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let me just think that I get this right. To concentrate one moment. Where would this be? Yeah, I have it. First Arjuna says, "Oh Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scripture, but worship according to their own imagination?" There you have it. They worship according to their own imagination. This is discussed 5,000 years ago. Are there in goodness, passion, or ignorance? Krishna says, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of worship, of faith. It's an evolution. One evolves, one speculates, and develops some particular kind of worship. And there are so many Christianities, in fact, thousands of different groups, even fighting against each other. And so one evolves a particular kind of faith. A living entity can be said to be of particular faith according to the modes he acquired. And so there's religion in purity, there's religion in passion, there's religion in ignorance because of it. Then there's Shuddha Sattva, pure religion, and that is to connect with God. The word religion is very important and deep, actually, because re means again, like we have reunion, religion, re means again, and legare is a Latin word, both are Latin words, means to connect. So religion means to reconnect, which automatically implies that we were connected before, what Christians don't believe. When is your beginning of your existence in the material world? When you were produced by your earthly father. That's the beginning. You're not allowed to think there's a pre-existence of the soul. Consequently, nobody knows why people suffer. My brother died on cancer, very young. 7 years, I asked the priest, why? Where's God here? He didn't know. I asked him, come on, this boy is suffering, what has he done? It says in the Bible, as you sow, you reap. What has he sown? He was just a child. The priest said, I don't know, I cannot explain that. And I said to him, Father, you just made me an atheist. Because how can there be a just God in the presence of evil? How is it possible? In this way, if there is a religion that doesn't understand, that has no knowledge of the nature of the soul, it's a precursor to atheism. It leads to atheism. Automatically, in due course of time, they say, what is the use of all this? Somebody has everything, somebody has nothing. Where's God in all this? Somebody suffers, somebody is happy, somebody is fat, somebody is thin, somebody is beautiful, somebody is ugly, somebody this, somebody that. Where's God? There is no God. Everything is based on random, on chance. And people become atheists. So therefore, little knowledge is dangerous. Because even people want to come to God. If there's no knowledge, they don't come to a conclusion. Prabhupada always said little knowledge can be dangerous. Like there was one man in India, this is a story Prabhupada tells, he was living in a village and he knew 2 words, yes, yes, and very nice, very nice. You know the story? So one time there was a British policeman, he was killed in the village. And the police came and they asked everybody, did you do it? And this man said in English, the policeman is English, yes, I did it. And he said, we will hang you tomorrow. And he said, very nice, very nice. So little knowledge is dangerous. So if we don't know Aham Brahmasmi, then our religiosity becomes dangerous, to others. And so the verse that I wanted to read to you from Chaitanya Charitamrita is wonderful. And that verse is, Sri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Balo Piyat Anugrahat Tare Nama Nana Mata Graha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram. I offer my obeisance to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even an ignorant child can cross the ocean of conclusions about the absolute truth. There's an ocean of conclusions. this conclusion, that conclusion, this religion, that religion, this type of Muslim religion, that type of Muslim religion, fighting with each other, destroying each other. That's the situation. You see? Then he continues. A child can swim across the ocean of conclusions about the ultimate truth, which is full of the crocodiles of various theories. Crocodiles of various theories. Just like in my own life, just before I joined the Hare Krishna movement, I became a vegetarian quite a bit time before, last 2 years, 3 years, which is a precursor to Krishna consciousness. You can't, if you eat meat, you cannot understand. So it became pretty clear to me what was going on at that time. And so I joined, and I talked to my mother. I said, Mother, you have to give up eating meat. You have to give up eating meat. She said, why? I explained to her, why? There's a soul. It's everywhere. Vidya vinay sampani brahmini gavyastini sunitra svapakita pandita samadasya shinaha. Standard of knowledge, a pandit, he knows, he sees the soul in all creatures. And in fact, Prabhupada said, unless the soul is seen in all creatures, the dual frenzy of love and hate will go on forever. The world will never find peace, Prabhupada said. He wrote in Back to God in 1942. Unless the soul is seen in all creatures, there will be no peace. Because as long as there are slaughterhouses, Tolstoy said, Russian writer, as long as there are slaughterhouses, there must be war fields. There must be war. War is coming when people eat meat. Has to be. You have to suffer the results. Whatever emotional pain you cause other living beings or physical pain, you have to suffer that. And if you cause violence, violence will come to you, 100%, unavoidable. So people wonder why people have a terrible accident. Why? Because no one is innocent. Not even a child is innocent. Not even a child. Because so many children are suffering. Why? Karma deva netina. According to his karma, see Bhagavan Uvacha is a verse. Lord says, netrena, under my supervision, everybody is suffering or enjoying the deeds of his previous existence. So, in the same way, in this verse, it is so clearly understood that everything depends on our doing and on Krishna's mercy. Karma is not quite 100% automatic. There's always Krishna's touch there. Krishna is supervising and he gives according what he thinks. Just like one Indian man, he came to Srila Prabhupada and he said, Srila Prabhupada, can you read my hands? And Prabhupada said, yes, show me your hand. He looked into his hand, Prabhupada said, oh no, all bad. Prabhupada, Swamiji, why you say it is all bad? He said, what I see in your hand is very clear. Janma mrityu jara vyadi, birth, old age, disease and death. That's in your hand. Now he said, you go in front of Lord Nityananda and you clap your hand in kirtan and all your lines will change. It was a nice story of Srila Prabhupada. All the lines will change, which is a fact. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, laymen can cross a mountain, foolish men can be a great speaker, blind men can see the stars in the sky. So by the mercy of Krishna, we are able to chant. It says very clearly, Haida said, without that mercy, we cannot chant without distraction. Therefore, we should ask for that mercy. Lord Nityananda and Prabhupada installed the deities in Vrindavan in 1970. What was it? 4 or 5, 3, I forgot. And so at that time, it was 5, I think. At that time, he said, after the installation, he said, now you can just go to Lord Nityananda. And don't go to Krishna. He said, he's involved in his Leela, his Srimati Radharani and the Gopis. Don't bother him. But go to Lord Chaitanya. Not even Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is most merciful. Namo Bhavatanyaya Krishna Prem Padayati. Lord Nityananda is even more merciful. And he's actually manifesting the super soul in our heart. So he said, you go to Lord Nityananda and say, my dear Lord Nityananda, I have this problem, whatever it is. Please help me to get rid of this problem. Therefore we have this prayer. Nityananda Vadu Tendu Vasudha Panavalabha Janavidivitapati Krishna Prema Prapadu Padmavati Sudha Sriman Satchinandana Purvajaha Bhavan Mato Jagattata Rakta Gauda Kalevara. You know this prayer? Who knows this prayer? This is the most important prayer. In this prayer it is stated, it was, I think, compiled by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that anyone who prays this prayer in the morning, from 6, I believe, to 7:30, that means first thing when there is greeting, you're in the right time. First prayer to Nityananda, Nityananda Vadu Tendu. I can send, Vima, I can send you that prayer, right? And then it can be distributed by somebody. You know, you should learn this prayer. It's very important, because everybody who chants this prayer to Lord Nityananda will go back to Godhead. It's stated. It's a very important prayer. You stand in front of the deity anyway in the morning, you worship, say the prayer. And guaranteed, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gives his blessing. Guaranteed anybody who prays this prayer achieves the complete mercy of Nityananda. And that's all we need, really, if we have that blessing. That's all we need. So by the blessing of Krishna, even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusions of the ultimate truth, which is full of crocodiles, of the crocodiles of various theories. And Prabhupada explains that by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is the time now? 8:50. Okay. By the mercy of Lord Sri's Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Prabhu, even an experienced boy with no education and culture can be saved from the ocean of nations, which is full of various types of philosophical doctrines that are like dangerous aquatic animals. And I saw this. I forgot to bring this story to an end. My mother became a vegetarian, and so the priest heard about it. And he called my mother. He said, this is very bad, vegetarianism. Only demons eat only vegetarian food. You have to eat meat. Otherwise you cannot go to heaven. That means he's in the mode of ignorance, in the mode of goodness. You perform pious activity, pious religion, piety. Mode of passion, you're bewildered. You don't know what's good and what's bad. What is religion, what is not religion. And in mode of ignorance, you're convinced that religion is irreligion and irreligion is religion. And so this is a classic example of somebody who is in the mode of ignorance. He says, if you eat that patram pushpam param that Krishna tells us, this is demonic. You have to eat meat. And my mother, she could not say no to the priest. She became, again, a meat eater. So you see how these are crocodiles. They're devouring people since hundreds and thousands of years. People become devoured by the crocodiles of religion without knowledge. And they're performing so many deeds accordingly. The philosophy of Buddha, the argumentative presentation of the Jnanis, the yoga system of Patanjali and Gautama, the system of the philosopher Kanada, Kapila, Dattatreya, are all dangerous creatures in the ocean of nations. By the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can have real understanding of the essence of knowledge by avoiding these sectarian views and accept the lotus feet of Krishna as the ultimate goal of life. Let us all worship Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his gracious mercy to the conditioned souls. That's why we have to go to Lord Chaitanya, to Lord Nityananda. Anytime you have a problem, anything you don't know what to do, Why you want me to make a decision if you don't know what to do? You just become confused. Somebody comes and says, sometimes I'm so confused. Well, yes, because you're confused because you try to make a decision when things are not clear. It's very simple. So we have to ask the Lord for clarity. Sometimes we have to wait for Krishna, rather than acting in ignorance. Like when you're in the middle of a forest, you don't know where the road is. It's night, what are you going to do? I think it is here, and you fall into the water. I think it is there, and you fall into a thorn bush. We have to wait till the sun comes. Krishna Suya Sama Maya Anaka. Wherever there is sun, there is no question of darkness. Right? And so in a situation which may be unclear to you, what shall I do? We have to ask. Prabhupada said, you go to Lord Nityananda. You ask the Lord. And there's a nice story in this regard. At one time, and I really like that story very much, that Srila Prabhupada was sitting with the senior devotees together, with senior disciples, and there was a problem in ISKCON. These were all big men. And Prabhupada asked everybody in the room, what is your opinion? Tama Krishna Goswami, what is your opinion? Giriraj Swami. And every time somebody gave his opinion, Prabhupada said, not a good idea. So finally, somebody of them, I think it was Tamal, Krishna Goswami said, Srila Prabhupada, what is your idea? Prabhupada said, I don't have an idea. That's why I'm asking you. So let's forget about this for now. Let's talk about something else. Krishna will tell us. So after some time, Prabhupada said, okay, I know now what to do. And he gave a wonderful explanation how to deal with this particular situation. And Tamal, Krishna Goswami said, Srila Prabhupada, how did you get this? He said, well, I just was waiting for Krishna to tell me. You see? So this is wisdom. This is wisdom that we have to hear Krishna's voice. That's why we listen, Shravanam, we listen to Bhagavad Gita. We listen to Bhagavad Gita. You know, I mean, people cannot understand. Yesterday we were talking about that there was a tsunami some years ago in Japan. And it so happened that there was a conference, a teleconference in Rome where everybody could speak to the Pope. This is, 6 years ago. And so one little girl from Japan called. I have this actually as a clip, as a movie. She called and said, Holy Father, you know God. So many of my friends are dead. Why is it? Why is that? They're all children, so many children died. And he said, I thought the same thing. And we don't have any answers for that. He said, we don't have an answer. But then he said, but Jesus is always with you. And he was innocent, he was killed, so in the same way implying you're innocent and have to suffer. And this is just theological talk. But it has no meaning, really, in the ultimate issue. Because it doesn't explain the situation. So then he said the last sentences, and one day you may even understand. And that's a very significant sentence, because all you need to do is to go to the temple, 100 rupees gives you Bhagavad Gita, you read the second chapter, and you know exactly the nature of the soul. You know exactly. And you can hear from Bhagavatam in this third canto how Krishna says, Kamana Deva Netrina. There's so many verses. That fate, our fate is not accidental at all, nor is it unfair. It precisely reflects our past life. And so you can learn this. One day you will understand, yes, you listen to Srila Prabhupada, you listen to Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, you can perfectly understand. And if you don't do that, if you have a bad opinion about Krishna consciousness, or about Krishna even, which people do outside of Krishna consciousness, in other religions, they think very badly. How can he be God? You know? If you don't listen to Krishna, you will be lost. As it says in Chaitanya Chaitanya, what is this verse? This is a wonderful verse that If you direct your consciousness towards me, Mat-Chitta, Chitta is consciousness, then Mat-Chitta Sarva-Durgani, all the difficulties of material life, Sarva-Durgani, whatever comes from Durga, the three sufferings, Adhyatmik, Adidevik, Adibodhika, will be destroyed by my mercy. Mat-Chitta Sarva-Durgani, Mat-Prasadam Tarishyasi. Atache Tvam Ahankaram. But if you do not listen to me, not hearing me, and act on the platform of false ego, you will be lost. You will be lost. So the religion, in that case, doesn't lead you. It doesn't fulfill the meaning of religion. It doesn't connect you with God. It actually disconnects you from God. It leads you astray. And this is what Krishna Das Kaviraj said. There's so many theories about the absolute truth. So many ideas. They're just theories because people think it is this and it is that and maybe this and it may be that. Maybe, could be, should be, is it? Like this. Mental speculation. That's why we do not accept any conclusion outside of Shastra, Sadhu and Sangha. Shastra, Sadhu, scriptures. We don't accept any conclusion outside of Shastra and Sadhu. Parampara. We don't. Sakaleneya mahata yoganashta parantapa. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, when the disciplic succession is broken, knowledge is lost. And if there's no knowledge, then good luck. We are lost. Then we depend on our minds, on a fertile brain, and we come to so many conclusions. There's so many conclusions. Therefore, we have to give up this habit of mental speculation and ask. It says in the Bible, and ask, it will be given to you. So we have to ask, Lord Nityananda, please give me this mercy. I'm not interested in so many things anymore. The thing I'm really interested in is your mercy, because when you give me your mercy, then I will be able to chant without distraction. If you can chant without distraction, we are there, we arrived. No doubt about it. You see? That's so important. That's why this statement of Haridas is so important, of Haridas Thakur, that no one is able to chant without distraction in the world unless he has the mercy of God. And therefore we have to pray for that mercy. That's what it is. So I thank you very much. I wish you all the best in your Krishna consciousness. Anybody who comes to Krishna consciousness is very fortunate. Bhagavan Jiva. He is thinking that is wealth to fly in a helicopter. This is luxury. But it is not. This is luxury. This is luxury. Standing in front of Vonitai, standing in front of the deities, standing in front of Sita, Ram, Lakshman. That is actually real luxury. So anybody who lives in this luxury lives very fortunate. Very fortunate. And interestingly enough, this will be the last thing I want to say. Coming from a Christian background originally, there was one person, his name is Thomas, and he was a disciple of Jesus, direct disciple. And he came to India, he came to Kerala, and he started Christianity there. But it was different. They followed a different book. He had written a book which is called the Gospel of Thomas. And in this Gospel of Thomas, number 40 verse, he says, "Congratulations to you all," he said, those who listen. "Congratulations to you all, because you have come alone." What does that mean? Well, you came alone. Where are your friends from school, from college? You came alone. We left all these people behind. Congratulations to you that you came alone because you gave up asatsanga and came to satsanga. Then he says, this is very significant. He said, "You all came from the kingdom of God, and there you will return." There you have it. That's our philosophy. So when the Portuguese when they came, Christian Portuguese, they came to Kerala, they realized that there was a Christianity which didn't sync with the Pope of Rome, and they destroyed it. These people were on a much higher level of understanding because they learned from a direct disciple of Jesus. They're no best. If you hear from spiritual master, the person who walks with the spiritual master hears the spiritual master, etc. He has some concept. He gets knowledge from the spiritual master. And so they were very close to truth. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you are welcome. Otherwise, we take Prasad. Anybody? Yes, Mataji. Give her the microphone. You have to help me because I couldn't possibly not understand what she says.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Pirthu Prabhu, for the wonderful class. I was just going to follow up, ask you which verse exactly about Lord Nityananda did you talk about? Where can we find that verse?
Which one?
The, praying to Lord Nityananda.
Prayers to Nityananda. It's a saying of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You give any one of the boys your email, and I'll send you the prayer.
Thank you.
And then you can learn it, and every day recite that, and go back to Godhead. This is a blessing of this verse.
Haribol.
So approach one of the boys, or you can even give me on a piece of paper. I can write it down. Just come. But you must not only keep this verse for yourself, you must promise to distribute to as many devotees as possible. Because it's a very, very important verse. It's the key. It's the key to the spiritual world. Prabhupada said at one time, he said, I gave you the passport to go to the spiritual world, but you still have to work on your visa. You have to work on our visa. One devotee said to Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, can you save me? He said, yes, but you have to do the work. These two things. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Gauri Thai ki jai, Go Premananda Hari Bol.